is the first ever NBA in-season tournament. All 30 teams going for one brand new trophy.
The stakes are the highest.
Only 8 teams advance from the group stages. Then it's down to single elimination.
It's win or go home.
The last 4 standing will battle it out in Las Vegas, baby. They're going to go all in on the hardwood for season-long bragging rights in the first ever NBA Cup. Hope everyone's feeling lucky. The NBA in-season tournament begins November 3rd on ABC, ESPN, and TNT.
Was out at a bar the other day, and I gave this girl a glass of lemonade. It made her completely fall for me. You could say I swept her off her feet. Yeah. There we go.
The smile on your face.
So, listeners, before we started recording, I said to Mr. Barretto, I said, "Are you wearing socks?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Go put some on, because this is about to blow your socks off." This joke, and I think metaphorically, it did. Maybe not literally, but I think we've achieved that because Lawrence is still giggling in the corner.
I really, 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 really enjoyed that joke.
I see. Again, I think I've perfectly worked out the lane I've got to operate in for good scores now, and they seem to be making Meadows laugh more and more now, which before they never used to. They used to be too niche just for Lawrence. I feel like I found the balance for both of you.
It was the delivery, because you were so pleased as you were saying it, like the kind of
always
look
the
on
way
your
though,
face.
right? It's always the way when I tell a joke.
Was this, you were almost kind of leaning towards the camera, like, you guys are going to laugh now. Here's the punchline.
Here it comes.
I liked it.
Have you been sitting on that joke for a while? Did you just find it? Did you chuckle a lot when you first told it? Did you try it out on people before you told it?
No, I very rarely try them out. I actually saw that while I was in the queue coming back from Qatar. I was just looking, for some stuff. I didn't write it. It's not a Nate original. And yeah, I've got a little joke list, as you guys know. Some of them I've been sitting on for a while because I'm like, these are great. Got to wait for the right point. But this one, I thought it made me kind of giggle to myself, as you guys have seen plenty of times. So I was like, let's just go for this one. It's top of the list, most recent. Boom.
It does explain a lot when Nate is just giggling to himself in airport queues. I know why now.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that you've got that context now, because I think people must see it and be like, this guy behind me is crazy, which is true. But at least there's a reason now you can kind of understand why that is. But I'm talking away. I don't care about any of this chat. All I care about, Lawrence, is the rating, as always. So hit me.
Well, I decided the rating almost instantly. And the rating is a 10, Nate.
Oh, yes. Oh, amazing. I didn't think it was going to be a 10. I did not think
I
that.
loved it a lot. I haven't laughed for that long for that amount of time.
Yeah, well, that's true. It did get you, didn't it? I kind of wish you had put your socks on, because I wanted to see if it would have blown them off.
Nate just gave himself a silent drum roll while he was waiting for that score.
I kind of knew. I must have known deep down.
Yeah. In your head, could you hear the drums? Just want to check.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you mean in my head? There are drums right here, Meadows. Stop trying to gaslight me, saying there aren't any. I was playing the actual drums in front of me. No, that's another weird thing I do, is play drums and hear the sound in my head. Anyway.
Well, after a long, long time, it's delighted to bring my mates, Chris, my mate Nate, to the show.
It's delighted? Are you referring to yourself as it's now?
Yeah.
What's going on, mate?
He's another being. He's an inanimate object.
Mate, you do live TV every week, and this intro, you can't do it ever. You're always struggling with it.
He started ad-libbing, hasn't he? So like, you know what? I could
do that.
and slightly
and
different one each time.
I prefer the ad-lib. I do. I like the ad-lib, but come on, Lawrence, we gotta.
I know.
There's a level of excellence here that we need from you, mate.
I was thinking about this the other day. Well, specifically after the last podcast.
We can go back to the formulaic one if it helps, mate. If you really need that, we can do it.
It's like your safe space. Did you feel comfortable there?
Yeah. Lawrence sits at home. It's like, welcome to the Pad Hoc. whenever he's feeling down, welcome to the Pad Hoc. Podcast featuring me, nice Barretto. Just recites it over and over again.
No. We won't do that. We will start this podcast as we mean to go on. So
Yeah.
an absolute calamity.
Absolute carnage. No, I mean,
Right, okay.
sorry. If I hadn't mentioned it, you would have got to the end, and I probably should have let you finish. So that's on me as well.
I was still judging him. Don't worry. I was with you, Nate. I was
Okay.
like, come on.
I'm sure I'm sure people listening were like, "What on earth is this? Is
It
this
was a
the
bumpy
famous
start.
Lawrence Barretto?"
There's
No,
nothing
it is the famous
about
Lawrence
me,
Barretto.
mate. It's not. Well, it is. It's Lawrence. Yeah, I am Lawrence Barretto. Like,
I mean that is true. I can't. None of us would deny that.
oh dear, I'm really sorry to anyone who is listening right now and wondering what on earth is happening in this podcast. But you have joined an episode of the Pad Hoc with me, Lawrence, with Nate, and with Chris, and we're going to do a bit of chat post Qatar, boys, aren't we? Because in a shock turn of events, we were all there.
Yeah,
we were
first time in a while.
I won't lie. I'm not paying attention anymore because I just googled is Lawrence Barretto famous.
What does Google say?
So there's a few different things like who is Lawrence Barretto, who's Lawrence Barretto's wife.
Question.
Well, that can be updated now.
There is,
as of this year, because we found that last year, didn't we? And it did say Lawrence Barretto wife. When I Google Lawrence Barretto, you know what the first picture that comes up is one of Daniel Ricciardo. So Google's thoroughly confused about who you are.
So I've got just pictures of Barretto, but there's a section here called from modelfact.com that says Lawrence Barretto Wikipedia, parents and net worth. And we've done this before, haven't we, when we looked at your net worth?
We have.
And you were they've got a new photo of you, though, in your Alpha Tauri pink jacket, which I think means that they've raised your net worth. So let's just check. Well, you tried to actually get the show on the road in the first place, but
and it's gone off the rails already.
While it is known that he is of Sri Lankan descent and resides in England. We love spreading these rumors. Do you want to know your net worth?
I'd love to know my net worth, yes.
Lawrence Barretto, a senior writer for Formula One, is estimated to have a net worth ranging from, and I need to get zoom up to see you guys again, $1 million to $2 million.
What? I'm delighted by that.
Well,
I had no idea. Congratulations, lads.
Just take that screenshot to the bank and be like, yeah, that loan you want to give me. It's all good. I'm worth loads.
And they were like, wait a sec. Oh, okay, this seems legit. I mean, the internet's never been wrong before.
$2 million. Well, thank you for whoever thinks I earn that much money. I appreciate that.
I'm gonna imagine that you're worth that much now. Whenever we go out for drinks or anything, I'm like, you're around, isn't it, mate? Money bags.
I'd be getting you rounds all the time if I was worth $2 million.
Well, jeez. I feel like having that much money. If you were like clearly the richest member of your friendship group, it would kind of suck eventually, wouldn't it? Because you'd go out. And you'd be like if it was like one of us, let's say one of us won the lottery tomorrow, those friends would never pay again, or they'd never feel like they could pay again. You go out for beers and they're like, well, it's on you, isn't it? You're like, yeah, but like, I don't want to just pay for everyone every time we go out. Like, what is this? But at the same time, it would be unreasonable if you didn't turn around and say, guys, I'll take the bill because I literally I have more money than anyone. So I don't know.
Spend this money, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be a weird situation. Not that I don't want it. I'm just saying it would be weird to navigate.
Annoyingly, I looked up Nate's net worth, but
do I have a thing?
No, you don't, because you were a famous Australian soccer player. So their net worth is between $1 and $5 million, but it's sadly. So
I do because I reckon if we search for Chris Madland, you'd have a similar website. I do feel like this a lot of the time with the three of us is that you two are infinitely better known than me in Formula One, and I quite like the fact that there's never any speculation about me online or anything. Like, I do get people messaging me nice stuff, but like, I feel like out of the three, I'm kind of like George Harrison, and you two are like Lennon and McCartney. I don't know who was the better out of them musically, but like, he was like the third, or maybe Ringo. Maybe I'm Ringo, and there's the third that we don't know about. Zoom is George Harrison, our Zoom account, and you two are Lennon and McCartney.
Oh, all right, we'll take that.
Who would be who out of the two of you? Who would be Lennon? Who would be McCartney? I feel like
I think I would be McCartney. I think.
Oh, you happy with that, Meadows? Would you be Lennon?
I mean, slightly fearful now.
He did sit in bed a lot towards the end. So
Are you saying that's what I'm not in bed
no.
right
I'm saying
now,
no. I'm saying you could just lean into that. You and Jess go find a hotel in New York and just sit in it. Be like, this is for peace. Brilliant stuff.
All right, we're definitely getting off tangent now.
Yeah. That's what he did. That is literally what John Lennon did towards the end. Anyway, why are we talking about the Beatles? I don't know anything about the Beatles.
Let's bring it back.
This is all because of your messed up intro, Lawrence. If you had done the intro properly, we'd have started talking about Qatar.
I literally teed up Qatar about 10 minutes ago.
You did.
Yeah, we moved on.
And then Medlin moved on to Googling.
Yeah, well, I can come back sort of
that
halfway.
Was actually...
I can come back halfway to the intro, which is we had a review of the Pad Hoc that was unexpected from Jay's Over Everything that just said, quick note, heard a catchy but familiar instrumental during a Florida lottery commercial, and it hit me, that's the Pad Hoc's music. Hope they don't take it from you guys.
No. That's we've had that before, haven't we? In a hotel somewhere. I think it was you, Meadows, that it was on your dashboard. So it is kind of a generic theme, sadly. But
we've got jingles for you, Nate. It's fine.
Yeah, we got jingles. It's all good. It's all good. Anyway, Lawrence, tee us up again, and we'll go straight into Wikipedia and your net worth again.
yeah, we'll go back into some other tangent. Qatar.
Yeah,
it was warm.
Is that you teeing us up? You just say the word and that's it. Right. He's definitely at the lower end of that $1 to $2 million, chaps. That's like
No. Let's talk about the main topic of the weekend. Max Verstappen, 3-time world champion.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the main topic?
Well, I feel like it was.
It was, then it wasn't. But it's still the biggest thing that's happened this season. So, really, yeah. I mean, maybe. But anyway, let's do that quickly. Max won the championship.
He did. Well done, Max. Moving
on. I interviewed him. I did the Champions interview on Saturday night, and it was about 3.5, 4 hours after he'd crossed the line.
You do work hard for that 2 million, don't you?
No, that wasn't the point. The point of that point was that he'd obviously done a ton of stuff in between. He'd done his team photos. He'd hung out with his team. He'd done more media. He had a quick time to FaceTime his mum, who wasn't there, chatted to his dad a little bit. And when I did this Champions interview with him last year in Japan, having done all of roughly the same sort of things, he was clearly flagging a little bit. Maybe wasn't as excitable. I don't know whether it was, the weather wasn't so good in Japan. There's a multitude of reasons why he was maybe a little bit flatter, I'd say. Whereas this year, he was properly buzzing. But I think that's more to do with his personality and his character this year. I don't know what you guys think, but I think he's been super relaxed. I think he's been much more analytical, a bit more expressive, given a bit more colour, a little bit more about himself when he's chatting. And that really came through in the interview. He just seemed super happy. I mean, I would probably be super happy if I'm winning 14 out of 17 Grand Prix and going into every weekend knowing that I'm almost certainly going to win if I do the best job I can. So, but I've just been really impressed with him this year. I think the way he's handled himself has been ace.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, that was a good segment, wasn't it?
Nice.
No, I agree with you on this year, especially. Like, I think last year he was still had a tendency to, and 21 definitely, like he was a bit more kind of catty, could be a bit more kind of confrontational a little bit about things. Then last year we saw a little bit of that, but this year I think it is because of how the situation that you mentioned there, lads. Like, he just knows he can come to a weekend, get everything right, and he's going to win the race. He's going to be on pole, going to win the race. And he's just so confident, and he's so good as well. He knows if he does all that, he's going to win the race. And he does. It's bizarre with him. I am going to make a call now. I don't think we'll ever see Max challenge Lewis Hamilton, Schumacher's records, because I just don't get the impression he'll stay around long enough to do that. You already hear him talk about, I've already achieved what I wanted to achieve. He always downplays those records, and the way he is in interviews like that, Lawrence, like, I think he said at some point, it might have been in your interview, but it might have been ESPN and Sky did one with him on the Sunday. And he said, if someone told me tomorrow you've got to retire from Formula One, he said, I'd walk away happily. Like, I'm pretty pleased with where I'm at. And I don't think we ever heard Lewis say that when he was dominating. We definitely didn't hear Vettel say it. So he is in a, like, from a headspace point of view, he's much different to a lot of the champions we've seen before, I think. But that's my take on it anyway. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Yeah, it was interesting. He said on Saturday night, didn't he, in his Champions press conference. I think one of the reasons he was in a better mood, maybe, Lawrence, as well, was that he could see it coming, that it was very likely he'd win it, and it went well enough that he did win it. And he had a solid day. I know Oscar beat him in the sprint, but still second. And it was like the first opportunity, tick the box job done. Whereas last year it was that confusion over was he champion, was he not? I didn't get to just have that instant certainty that he'd done it. So maybe that played a part in it as well. But yeah, he said on Saturday that he hoped to sit somewhere between, well, basically get into third in the all-time winners list. And he said he'd be happy with that because it's been pointed out he's only 4 race wins behind Vettel. So Verstappen's 5th overall on 49. Then it's Prost on 51 in 4th, and then Vettel on 53 in 3rd. And then you've got to go all the way to Schumacher in 91. So he's making the point of that huge gap. He's like, there's no guarantee you keep winning races like this. So he hopes that he can get into 3rd. But that also just felt a little bit like a deadline on it. Like, I see roughly the amount of time I'll be here. Here's the window of wins I'll get to. And I think that tallies what you said, Nate. His contract runs till 28, is it? I don't know if it ends.
28.
Yeah.
It runs until 28. But then again, with that, I assume
world champion by then.
Yeah. But the thing is, I don't know if Red Bull, 26, then building their own engine and all that stuff. I don't know if in 26 they'll really be they might be, who knows? But the smart money would say they're not going to be the best team through that regulation change, I would say. So maybe he just gets to the end of this round. I mean, he could, right? But he could win the next 2 and then get to 26, do preseason, be like, this car is absolute garbage, and just be like, I'm done. Because he'd said that as well. He said he has no issue staying in F1 if he's still competitive, challenging for wins whenever that comes. But if he's like down in 10th, he's not going to bother. Because I do get the impression he wants to do other racing series as well at some point, like Le Mans and things like that.
Yeah, he said he'd definitely do Le Mans. I think this weekend he said he'd 100%. He's going to race at Le Mans one day. But I think it's partly as well that if his contract runs to the end of 28, I think he maybe sees it as that's probably where I'm here till. Unless something happens that says I want to get out earlier. I think in his head he's kind of gone, yeah, that's a long-term deal. I'm happy with it. And at that point, I can move on to other things. And I'm still very young in racing terms as well. But that it would, as you say, give him an opportunity to win 8. I don't think he'd win 8, but it would give him that chance. But the thing is, it's more likely over time, isn't it, that things converge and everyone gets a bit closer. And realistically, we've actually seen that during this year. You look at McLaren in the last couple of races, that probably the closest anyone is run in just raw pace, Red Bull. I know it's at circuits that suit McLaren, but there are also circuits that suited Red Bull. I know the tyre limitations also probably helped reduce Red Bull's advantage in that sense on Sunday, but McLaren definitely has a car that is closer than I think we've seen any car this year be to Red Bull's pace. Other than, I guess we said Alonso was a threat in Monaco, but even so, that was only with the kind of timing of pit stops and weather coming into it that gave him half a shot at jumping him in a pit stop phase. So yeah, I feel like actually we're seeing it converge. So based on that, you'd think next year there's a chance that the gaps are smaller. I don't know if they'll be so small that they get a proper challenge, but smaller year after that. And could well be that Red Bull are facing someone else able to beat them to a title. So it's not guaranteed that even in this era of car, he gets to win them all, let alone, as you say, Nate, in 26. So I think he's going to have to work hard for further championships. And that might fuel the fire a bit, or it might mean that he then goes, yeah, I've had a good run and now I'm done.
I think if he won 2 more like this, I think he'd be more inclined to walk away. But you're right. Like if he's fighting Lando and Oscar next year, or he's back with Lewis again, I think that keeps you around. So that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Maybe you're more optimistic about a good fight than me. I don't know if it'll be that close next year. I think McLaren will be closer, but I think Red Bull is still so far ahead.
No, I think Mercedes will make a big step as well. I'm not too sure about Ferrari, but I think Mercedes will actually make a they would have been really quick actually in Qatar. That looked like just circumstances kind of hid it. But I think they're going to have a totally different car. James Allison sort of hinted it at the weekend that surely now they've learned from these 2 years that will put them more in the frame as well.
I fell into the trap of saying that Mercedes were going to be the strongest rivals this year, so I'm not going to say that again for next year. I think Red Bull are going to make another step. I think McLaren are probably the only ones who are clearly on the right direction now with these 2022 regs that came in. I feel like they fully understand which way they're going. And I think even if Merck realise that now, they've still got to hit the track and learn all of the learnings that McLaren started learning ages ago now.
But then I do wonder if McLaren have made all their gains already. We do see with this at the moment, teams are making steps forward and then they're kind of, they're there for, a spell of time. So I don't know. I'd love McLaren to be on the right path, but I would still back Mercedes to overtake them quicker than McLaren to catch Red Bull, if that makes sense, just based on what we know about both teams.
And facilities, isn't it? And resources and various things.
That's true.
But you say like you made the mistake. Like Mercedes are still second in the Constructors' Championship. They are still the closest team in terms of average performance over a season to Red Bull.
True, but they weren't a threat, were they? They weren't ever a threat to Red Bull. And I felt like there would have been. I felt like in Brazil last year when George won that race, and they said, "Okay, hang on, we got it." We kind of understand what we're doing with it. I thought, oh, well, hang on a minute, if they've got it, they'll be closer. And it obviously just didn't turn out that way.
True. There's been higher highs for other teams than Mercedes, I keep thinking. They've been like a really solid, usually the third quickest team, rarely second and rarely really close to Red Bull, whereas, others have come closer. But it's always Red Bull winning. And I don't know how Nate manages to turn that into anything exciting for us.
Well, apologies in advance for Max Verstappen fans, because he doesn't get a huge mention in a lot of these now.
What? Outrageous.
If you've only got 1 minute to spare, wanna know who finished when and where, sit back, relax, cause we got you. Here's Nate with the 60-second review.
Hello everyone, this is my review for the Qatar Grand Prix. Usually have a little prelude here, but a preamble, but I don't have one, as you can tell by the fact I'm still waffling. So let's go, shall we? 3, 2, 1. First position, it's Mr. Saturday, Mr. Sunday, Mr. All Year Round, Max Verstappen. Second position, he beat Oscar Piastri, McLaren team leader, race winner, champion in waiting, and his lesser experienced and lesser accomplished teammate Lando Norris in third position. George Russell, Woody in fourth position, Charles Leclerc in fifth, Fernando Alonso driving the only Aston Martin car that has been built this season in sixth position, Ocon seventh, Bottas, something about his bum, he was eighth. Zhou Guan Yu also probably has a bum. He was ninth. Good job from Alfa Romeo today. Sergio Perez, I mean, non muy buen from Sergio Perez. 11th, fresh off the back of his UFC debut, it's Lance Stroll. 12th, we do still love Gasly, but not so much as we used to. 13th, Alexander Albon. Use his full name, please. Kevin Magnussen, Yuki Tsunoda, Nico Hulkenberg. What were you doing at the beginning, lad? Absolutely choked it at the beginning. And Liam Lawson, I mean, he was never any good, was he? Hype train over, right? Logan Sargent retired with heat stroke. That was pretty rough. Lewis Hamilton, clumsy Lewis. A goat can be clumsy every so often, I guess. And Carlos Sainz did not start the race. Factual at the end.
Factual. I was about to say that. Very factual finish.
It's because often what I do is I kind of get it in my head. I go down, and then I saw Sainz, and I was like, oh yeah, he didn't start the race. Gotta mention it. But yeah.
Nice.
So yeah.
No, I like that.
So, thoughts on the race generally, though? Good race?
It was not amazing, really. It was pretty dull. And what was actually quite interesting about it, you hear so many fans say, oh, we need mandatory stops to make races interesting. Mm-hmm. I thought it sucked. Because you knew when everyone was going to pit, there was no, like, at one point I was like, oh, Max is going to have to pit into a load of traffic. And then you're like, oh, but so's everybody. Like, everyone's going to have to pit in 2 laps.
It actually plays into the hands of the quicker car, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Max was able to go longer first. Everyone else was pitting to cover each other because they had to by a certain time. So you react to that. So everyone else pits earlier, and he's just clear to pull away and get the least amount of traffic by the end of his first stop. And because everyone else pits earlier, people like Oscar has to go back into traffic earlier again, and it hampers everyone behind and pulls them further away from Verstappen than maybe they naturally would have been. And in the same way, someone like Russell trying to recover from the first lap thing, great. He actually did really well to get up to fourth, but the pace of that car, they would have gone on to a totally different strategy and tried to find a way of getting clear air and fight through at the end. And instead, it's all like you say, kind of all roughly on the same schedule. Wasn't a huge fan of it, to be honest.
No.
I was going to say, were you a fan of the heat?
No. We have a joke, don't we, in the paddock that there are certain conditions that are considered to be Nate weather. A nice kind of cool breeze at about 22 degrees Celsius, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Sorry, US listeners. Still
too hot for you, isn't it?
But that, if there's a breeze, I'm okay. I'm all right. I can wear a t-shirt. I don't sweat through my t-shirt. Qatar, I've got to say, that's probably the warmest I've ever felt, ever in my life. I mean, that Saturday was rough, but Sunday, so I went out with Rebecca Clancy and Ben Hunt into Doha. We went to the souk, and then we went to the bay and looked over the bay. The view there, by the way, amazing. But I was like, this is the warmest day I've probably ever gone outside in. Maybe it wasn't, but it was so humid all week, wasn't it? Since we got there, I've not been to Singapore, so I can't compare it as you guys can. but it was just so the heat was so dry, and there was no air in it. Maybe in the evening it got a little bit more breezy, but yeah, it was warm. But I know everyone's had an opinion about this on social media, but I don't think anyone knew the race was going to be that bad on the drivers until the race started. So all these people saying they should have never had the race. The drivers had a practice session, qualifying, sprint shootout, sprint race, and they all came out and said, yeah, it's pretty hot here, but none of them were struggling until it got to like midway through that race. So I feel like, and part of it, as Charles Leclerc said, was because of the stints and because they were basically just pushing every lap. But I mean, maybe a good lesson going forward. Maybe it's, the heat. We never really think about it, do we? We're like, oh yeah, they'll be fine. They'll just race through just because they're super fit athletes. But maybe it is a point of, it's like, well, maybe we should consider, is this actually dangerously hot? Not just for the drivers either, but just for people who are there. Because I just, like, usually we go to the grid before the race, don't we? I just stayed in the media center. I was like, this, which was the opposite. It was basically Baltic in there because they couldn't turn the aircon down. They could only turn it on or off. But I was like, I'd rather be in here than out there. I'd rather freeze to death than basically melt.
Boiled to death.
Yeah, exactly.
They had to give us blankets. It was that cold.
Yeah.
They knew it. They knew it was a problem. So when you arrived, you're given a blanket on the first day, and then they replenished them on the Saturday. I think gave everyone blankets again, like airline style blankets to wrap around yourself to sit in your seat and work because it was that cold. Which is a proper, play the tiny violin for us, but it was not ideal working conditions. And also then you are going outside into really high temperatures, back inside to freezing cold ones, and people are going to start getting ill with that. But
also, Nate, you're ill, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm not feeling great, and I think it's from that. But that would have been the case for the teams as well. Like when you went into the hospitality units and stuff, it was the same. They had very not as aggressive aircon, but I think that is something that just really it messes up your body through the course of a week if you're going cold, hot, rather than it just all being the same temperature. Like if it's always warm, you're like, this is pretty rough, but at least your body is kind of staying the same. But so I think for the drivers as well, I mean, Logan Sargent didn't feel well all week, did he? He said at what we found out on Sunday when he retired from the race with heat stroke, but he was like, he hadn't felt well all week. So I wonder how much of that is, the aircon on the plane, then you get off and it's warm, and then, the aircon so it's not pleasant. And that's, I know that's me saying that, not a professional racing driver, but the result of it was what we saw on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that was very different on Sunday, there was a humidity as well. Because I got back to my car and it was absolutely drenched in water. Like you had to use your wipers driving back and things because it was just, so humid, which again, I don't think anyone saw coming. But I'm not sure many people were fans of it. Speaking of what people might be fans of as well, segue. But nice. We have moved home to the Sports Social Podcast Network, which basically approached us and wanted us to be part of their whole huge dedicated podcast network for sports pods. So hopefully you're fans of it. If you're not, tell us if there's too many ads and things in the wrong place so that we can just tell them and we'll shout at them. But yeah, that's where we've now gone, which is very exciting, isn't it, chaps?
Very exciting indeed. Yeah. Thanks very much to them. And Meadows will be doing the shouting if it does come to that, I think. That's the fairest
He's very
way.
good at the shouting. So.
Yeah. Low key is very good at the shouting. Actually, I think Lawrence should do the shouting because I'd like to see that. Lawrence shout at anything.
You don't see him lose his cool enough, do we? We should make him do it more often. We try our best as well, as everyone could tell on this pod.
Yeah, we do. But he just won't break. He will not break. It's very sad.
There is a way around it as well if you don't like the listening to the pod like on your apps and things like that, and there's too many adverts, isn't there?
Another fantastic segue here. There is another way indeed, because we are going to be doing a live show in Austin on the Thursday before the Grand Prix. We've been talking about it forever, guys, haven't we? We've been talking about it forever. Indeed.
And it's come together late, so late that we're still not 100% sure where this is going to be.
We have multiple options. Yeah, we're basically being told where we're going to do it, and there's 2 or 3 options right now. So it looks like it'll be downtown at least. We can promise that.
Yes, and we'll of course keep everyone in the loop. So if you're going to Austin and you're there on the Thursday, drop any of us a message and we'll try and keep you in the loop as best we can. Hopefully we'll know the venue by Thursday evening. All 3 of us in different locations on Zoom. But no, that should be a lot of fun.
That'd be a great way of doing it, and everyone can just hear one part of the pod. We've all got headphones on, so they can't hear the rest of it.
It's like a silent disco at university. If you ever did those, you'd go and you put your music in. But no, it should be a lot of fun. And I think that we've always found, even though I think we're in a great spot now when we do them on Zoom, our pods in person are just way better because you can bounce off each other. I can actually see your lovely faces right in front of me instead of on my computer screen. I think it's just a lot more fun. So hopefully that'll be the case again.
And we can't really have a beer when we record these in the mornings on Zoom, can we? Whereas
that's true as well.
In a bar in an evening.
Yes.
So
I think it's very positive that we've drawn the line there, and we refuse to do that drinking while we're on Zoom at breakfast time.
Well, it'd become a very different pod very quickly, wouldn't it? You know, like a support group more than anything else.
When we need to diversify, we can look into it.
Yeah, that's the next one. Next year can do that.
Yeah. But yeah, next week in Austin. So I'll put it on all the Pad Hoc social channels and things like that when everything's confirmed. And it will just be get yourselves down there to heckle us and have a drink and see Nate sweat about a joke in person.
Quite literally sweat about a joke in person because I'm not sure if it'll be Nate Weather in Austin. It might be just on the cusp. By the evening, it's all right usually. So, but yeah, looking forward to seeing you all down there if you are there. So hit us up. Yeah,
we've got a few ideas to make it a little bit quirky, haven't we? So we'll try and drop those ideas in maybe on. We're
gonna swap roles. So Lawrence is the sweaty guy that tells the jokes.
You know what? I do want to do that. I've got one joke that I would like to tell.
Well, Austin is the place to do it. So and if you ever tell a joke on the pod, I've got to be able to give it a score. Sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like Meadows has missed out here, but Meadows is a good kind of witness to the whole system.
I've got an idea here. It's just come to me. We'll discuss it afterwards, and it's better than Nate's idea that he just put in a WhatsApp group,
which was pretty bad,
which he wanted Barretto and I to argue about whose wedding was better, which just is a recipe for disaster. So
they're both great weddings, I want to say, and we before we leave you guys, and I know that Lawrence, you've got to run off to a meeting. We're very conscious of the fact that we keep teasing that we're going to talk about Madeline's wedding on this pod, and it keeps dropping down the run plan. So I'm sorry about that, mate, but we will get to talk about it one day. It was a very, very good wedding.
It was a great wedding.
It was the joint best wedding I've been to this year.
Very good, very good.
Yeah. Oh no, I forgot Lawrence got. No, that's a bad joke.
You think that's a joke? He did say something along those lines in front of a mate of his who'd got married earlier this year on the way back from my wedding, and then realised what he'd done.
Yeah, it was very embarrassing, and I that's why you can't trust me because I don't really rate weddings in my head as like that was. But you know, the day after a wedding, I was like, that was great. That was like one of the best weddings I've ever been to. And my friend had got married in February, I think, March, during the Australian Grand Prix week.
Yeah,
so it was foot in mouth situation. But anyway,
the main thing is you had a great time at all weddings.
And
it's not about a ranking system. You don't have to rank it all. Thanks, chaps, as ever. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm excited that we'll get to do this again in real life next week in Austin.
In person
with people.
In person. So keep an eye on our social channels and we'll inform you there. And obviously get in touch just generally at the Pad Hoc. If you've got anything that you ever want to say to us, drop Nate a DM. Drop us all.
I mean, I can be the DM guy. People can DM me or Meadows or that. DM whoever you want. DM your favourite.
Ooh.
There we go.
Oh, no, hang on. Because now it's coming into a ranking system again. You can't get away from these ranking systems.
and they know how much Barretto's worth, so they'll DM him because they'll want the size of his team.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But even though I'm not worth that. But anyway, you can read Nate's work on ESPN.com, Meadows' work on race.com, and my work on F1.com. And we will hopefully see some of you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Podcast Network.